after all this, and they get rid of it, what's the point?
Don't throw my tissues.
What's the point?
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Star Wars Explained Weekly Q&A. I'm Alex.
I'm Molly.
And obviously, we're going to be talking about the Acolyte today. A lot of people have been asking us, commenting, wanting to know our thoughts and everything, and we were like, we're just going to wait until Saturday to sum it all up. And also, we've been really busy with Dragon Con stuff, so I wanted to talk about Dragon Con first real quick because it is next weekend. It is our favorite time of year. It's my favorite time of year.
It is one of my favorite times of the year.
I want to go and sing "It's the most wonderful time of the year" at just in the Marriott lobby.
It's definitely an exciting time. I feel like the older I get, the more I kind of worry about putting my body through what I'm about to put it through.
For people who don't know what Dragon Con is, it is an Atlanta nerd con. People call it Nerdy Gras. There's lots of great cosplays, and there's a lot of fun Star Wars things to do as well. So Molly and I, we've been going for 15 years. This might be our 15th year, I think.
It's been a long time.
We are part of the Star Wars track. We have several panels we'll be on. I'll try to remember them all. On Friday morning at 10 a.m., I'm doing a panel with some other people about Star Wars Legends. Saturday at 1, I'm moderating the author panel, which I'm kind of freaking out about, but
that'll be fun.
I'm nervous for that. At 4 p.m. on Saturday, we are going to be on the Acolyte panel. So I'm sure we'll talk about all of this again. And then Sunday at 10 a.m., I'm on another panel about Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Empire. But yeah, if you get the app, if you're going, you can just click on our names under the speaker tab and it'll show you our schedule, and you can find us if you want to.
Yeah, I'm not doing many panels this year. I am excited to try the trivia again. We take the trivia test every year, and Alex almost always makes it up there, and half the time he wins. So
that's not true. I've won 3 times.
Okay, well,
that's 3 out of 15.
Past couple of years, it's been pretty hard to beat you, but I've gotten up there the past 2 years, I think.
I think 3 or 4.
2 or 3 years. Sometimes I've been an alternate.
In 2019, you got 3rd place, and I got 2nd. And
yeah.
Marie.
So definitely take the test and come to the trivia finals. I think the test is Saturday night. The finals are Sunday night, and they're always a blast. And once again, for the 2nd year in a row, Daniel is hosting them from Australia on Zoom, which I think just makes things even more complicated, but also still fun.
Also very fun. Yeah, the same person has been hosting these finals. We've watched him grow up. He was a kid when we started taking them, started competing in there. And now he's in college and he's off in Australia doing marine biology, but he still wants to host trivia. So I salute you, Daniel. Also, Thursday night, this is the last time we will be shouting out Mosh Isley, because we're really excited to go to this Star Wars punk pop emo night. I got my cosplay ready for it, which this year is maybe the most effort I put into cosplays. So
I mean, we bought a sewing machine.
We sewed. You did most of it. I tried to sew last night and ruined it and had to undo everything. And then today you helped me and fixed it.
Well, we're not sewing a lot of stuff. It's just a couple of little projects, but yeah, Mosh Isley is going to be a blast, I'm sure. A great way to kick off the weekend, and I'm still working on my costume for that. I'm doing a punk rock version of Rey. I'm
doing a punk pilot, basically, and I'm really happy with how it came out. So yeah, come party with us if you're going to be at Dragon Con, either at Mosh or just at Dragon Con, because we're going to be partying all weekend, and then we will collapse on Monday. You also might notice that we're wearing the same shirt. And these are from Beyond the Gift Shop, which we've worn their shirts and videos before. Really like their designs, very minimalistic. And they asked to partner up with us and basically were like, what kind of design would you want? And I was like, pilot stuff.
Pilot stuff, always.
And so, yeah, this is from the Rebel pilot helmets. I've always liked this design, so they made a shirt for it. And it's going to be on sale on their website, I think, September 14th. But there's a link to be notified when it will be available in the description now. Okay, all of that out of the way, let's talk about the Acolyte. Obviously, that was the big question that was asked a lot this past week. And just first and foremost, how are we feeling about the Acolyte cancellation? At what stage of grief are you at right now?
I don't even know what the stages are.
Anger is first, I think.
Oh, okay. I think I'm over that. I'm still a little angry, but I think I'm over that. What's the next one?
I don't remember the order of them all. I think it starts at anger and ends at acceptance.
Okay, so I'm somewhere in between, I think. I am leaning towards acceptance, I guess.
There's denial, there's bargaining, there's something else.
I don't think I went through all the stages, but I definitely had a period of time with anger and just overall sadness over the loss itself. And I think I'm closer to acceptance now because there's really nothing I can do.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still in bargaining a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But there's also still, I don't know if it's anger, but definitely frustration just about the whole situation. And it's not just Star Wars. It's like when you think about all of the streaming wars that have happened and how much streaming and streamers and all these corporations have messed with storytelling, which always bugs me. Like I've talked about before, that's my biggest issue with the sequel trilogy. You know, people are like, well, why didn't they spend the time to plan it out? Why didn't Lucasfilm do that? It's like, because Disney said, these are the dates, and we don't care if there's a story to tell or not. Like, episode 7 comes out on this date. Episode 9 comes out on this date. Get it done.
Yeah.
And that is just business messing with storytelling, and I don't like it. So this feels like that again.
Yeah, I guess what I'm the most upset about is what does this mean going forward for future projects, future Star Wars storytelling? It feels like, you know, the chances of getting something so new and so fresh and different for as the Acolyte, the chances of getting more projects like that are now a lot less likely.
Well, since you bring it up, I'll just try to remember the questions that were raised, specific ones. And someone was wondering, do you think that there is hope for riskier projects in the future, or is this going to mess with things? That's definitely a fear of mine, that Disney or Lucasfilm or whoever is going to take the wrong lessons from this and be like, oh, well, people just don't want to watch anything that doesn't have to do with the Skywalkers and this specific time period, and that we're never going to venture out beyond that. And yeah, I'm a little worried about the Dawn of the Jedi movie, which is, of those movies that are coming out, the 4, I think, that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
I guess my fear going forward is that, yeah, they aren't going to be as willing to do something brand new for the Star Wars storytelling, because things like bringing Luke Skywalker back or putting Grogu in something, or Ahsoka, like these big faces and names that people really love, if we just keep going back to that, you know, it's just going to be the same thing all the time.
It's going to run dry. Yeah, if we keep going back to that same well. I mean, it was really exciting to see Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian Season 2. It was cool to see him in the Book of Boba Fett as well, but if we just keep doing that, it's gonna wear off. The novelty won't be as exciting. Also, there's like the whole element of the deep faking, and I feel like that's another wrong lesson learned from Solo. I think Kathleen Kennedy said something along the lines of maybe we shouldn't try to recast these iconic characters, as if the problem with Solo was that Alden Ehrenreich was playing Han Solo, which I thought he did a great job. And so now it's like, I guess we're just deep faking everyone. And I'm like, no, let's not do that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that love that and are fine with it. And I think there's a lot of people who are like, really? The guy, I forget his name, but the actor that they had as the body double for Luke Skywalker looked
pretty good,
90% spot on, I would say. And he was like a great looking dude. And I was just like, after seeing behind the scenes pictures and videos of him doing those parts, I was like, this would have been so great if we could have just seen that guy's face and been like, yep, that's young Luke Skywalker, because guess what? Mark Hamill is not that age anymore. And when you deepfake stuff, to me, it never looks natural enough with, speaking roles at least.
Just in case of spoilers, we just saw another movie recently that had a deepfake in it. And I was like, that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
It could have been something else. And I'm trying to be very vague about even the movie. But if you know, you know. We're just in this like point in time where all media seems like it's so nostalgia driven, not just in Star Wars, but like Deadpool and Wolverine is over here making $1 billion. I had so much fun watching that movie, but also it's like, look, it's Elektra and Blade, and like it's fun, but that can't be all that storytelling is. Yeah. And I'm afraid that that's what Disney's going to be like, oh, well, I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine made $1 billion. The Acolyte didn't get great viewership, so I guess all people want to see are the same characters over and over and over.
That's what the executives, I think, at the companies are thinking. Like, what makes money? Do more of that. Part of the reason why I think Deadpool and Wolverine did so well was because they brought back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, who we all thought after Logan would never play Wolverine again, and he even said as much. That made us so excited to see he's actually coming back to reprise the role. But then what are the stakes for actors saying they're done with these roles? Are we supposed to believe that or no? But it really is about driving this nostalgia factor, and it's just you're gonna lose the younger generations who maybe aren't as attached to any of the past characters in Star Wars, and it doesn't really drive that same nostalgia. If you want future generations to want more Star Wars, give those younger audiences something new, something fresh to get excited about and to love, and then you'll have new nostalgia in a few years.
Right. And I think that they're just banking so hard on formulas, and Vince Vaughn, I think on Hot Ones of all places, had a great little rant about how there are formulas that people will follow, and they are afraid to veer off of those formulas because if they take a risk and it doesn't pan out, then they're like, well, you can't fire me. I followed the formula. This is what we all do.
Yeah.
And it didn't work this time. It's not my fault. Whereas when you look at the original Star Wars, you had an executive, Alan Ladd Jr., who was championing Star Wars the whole time. That was a risky movie to make, even though it wasn't the biggest budget thing. But he kept saying no, this will be great. It'll work. And people kept pushing back against it. And he took a big risk on George Lucas, and Lucas took a big risk. And here we are now.
Yeah.
So Star Wars, when you take the risk out of Star Wars, it's okay, what are we doing? What's the point? And I will fully admit that looking at the numbers for the Acolyte, it didn't perform as well as the other shows. But
it performs similarly to Andor, but because Andor was so almost universally praised by critics, it was okay, everyone just saw that and assumed the show was great, and no one was hearing, oh, the show sucks, right? Because that's what a lot of people were hearing about the Acolyte, just because they saw some random article, they heard some random YouTuber say the show sucks, so they believed them.
Yeah. There are some different things about Andor, I think, that first, it already had its second season greenlit, as far as I can recall. And if, let's say the series were swapped, if the Acolyte came out, what was that, 3 years ago, and got about that same, it got the same viewership, they still may have greenlit a second season because they were still in that we just got to make a bunch of content mode. And if Andor came out now, it's the most expensive series, and I think it was the second least viewed show. So they might not have greenlit it a second season if the timeline was swapped. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just, they have said that they're going to pull back from their streaming content. So, like, to go back to our initial reaction, I wasn't that surprised about the Acolyte's cancellation. I was hopeful for a second one, and a lot of it was coming from, like, well, Andor got renewed, so...
Yeah, but it didn't get renewed. It was always planned to be 2 seasons.
Yeah,
Tony Gilroy was like, I'm giving you 2 seasons or I'm out.
Yeah, it was originally going to be 5, and he talked him down to 2.
Nah, I can do it in 2.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is kind of the thing, is that back then, Chapek or whoever was in charge was like, we got to just throw everything at Disney Plus. We got to give people so much stuff that they can never cancel their subscriptions. But yeah, like, just all this streaming stuff, it's such a mess.
Our friends over at Force Center did a great episode covering the Acolyte's cancellation and what it means. And, you know, they know the business a little bit better than we do, but they mentioned that the conversation between these big companies that are in charge of the streaming services and the viewers, there's such a disconnect there that, like, we don't understand each other. They're not listening to us. We don't understand how the business works, you know? So I don't know how to fix that, but it's a huge, huge problem.
Joseph said a lot of smart things. I mean, all 3 of them did. Jennifer was crushing it from, like, her perspective as an actress and a woman of color and someone who loved the show. But Joseph was talking about, he has a friend that works at a streamer that was basically like, yeah, streamers hate second seasons because they're more expensive to make. And it seems like all the streamers only want to dive into something like that if the show is The Stranger Things or The Mandalorian. Something
huge
that is
success,
an undeniable cultural event. And then it's like, okay, it's worth it to greenlight a second season. Otherwise, it's like, well, now the actors are going to ask for more and we have to negotiate more and blah, blah, blah. So maybe we just don't do a second season.
Yeah. But if you remember, like, the second season of Stranger Things, people didn't like it as much. As good. It was like very, very different, and it kept going, and 3 was great, and, like, the show is still going. It's about to wrap up, but they gave it time, and they had a plan for multiple seasons from the very start, and, you know, they were given more than just 8 episodes.
Also that, yeah.
Like, they're giving these creators and these storytellers so little to work with that how is it supposed to succeed?
Right.
If we don't give it a shot for a larger length of time, you know, let people who didn't watch it every night the moment it came out, let those people find the show and watch it themselves. Now it's like they haven't taken the show off of Disney Plus, and I don't think they will. But now people are thinking, like, oh, what's the point of even watching it if it's not going to get renewed?
Yeah.
Which is, it's really unfortunate.
It's true. And even, like, big mega hits, freaking House of the Dragon. And I didn't know this until listening to Force Center's episode, but Ken was talking about how they had, like, 10 episodes for season 2, and it was going to end in a big battle. And then Warner Brothers or whoever is in charge over at Max was like, nope, axe the last 2 because we got to save money. And then it has this weird ending, and everyone's yelling at the showrunner who's like, my hands are tied. And it just seems like that is the case across the board for creators. Like, the deck is stacked against them all over the place.
What I think the part of this that frustrates me the most is, like, Disney is not openly giving us their numbers. We have what's it called?
The Nielsen stuff. There's various people who report on this, and I don't know how well, like, even while The Acolyte was on, some people were like, it's the most viewed thing ever, it's the least viewed thing ever, and it's just all over the place.
Right.
So I tend to look at our own viewership, basically, where
the interest level,
right, is that, you know, how many people are now coming to watch videos about The Acolyte after the fact. And I would say it was, like, above the Bad Batch, but less than, I think, all the other live action shows, except for Andor, which Andor started really low and then picked up over the course of the season.
I assume because people heard through the grapevine, that critics were loving it.
Yeah.
So, casual fans, or even just people who don't consider them fans of Star Wars, will go on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook and see a random article saying the show is terrible, no one's watching it. People are actively going to Rotten Tomatoes to review bomb it, and they'll just take that at face value and say, well, I heard the show is terrible. Why should I watch it?
Right.
And I don't know what to do to fix that, but it's really unfortunate that people aren't even giving stuff a chance anymore, because I think nowadays it's like our attention spans are so small and short, and people don't want anything new or challenging to watch. A lot of people watch the same shows over and over. We do that.
Yeah.
We have our comfort shows, and because of streaming, we can watch them whenever we want. And a lot of people do that. And so it's getting harder and harder to give something new a chance, because why do it? If you hear it's terrible and you know what shows you like, you're just going to watch those again.
Yeah, and that's so true of us. Like, when we want to get into something else, you either have to convince me or I have to convince you, and then we start a new show and we both wind up liking it a lot usually.
And I'll give it the first 2 episodes, maybe 3. If it doesn't hook me by the 3rd episode,
right,
chances are I'll be uninterested. To look at it in more terms that we can more closely understand, I think about our YouTube channel and where we started, and like the first year or 2 that you were doing the channel, we weren't getting crazy numbers, and we weren't going viral. That wasn't really, it was kind of a thing back then, but it wasn't like a necessity like it is now. Like, if you don't go viral, you'll never make it. So we gave it time, we built it up slowly, and we gave videos the chance that they needed to draw an audience. And like, I think if big companies would realize that they need loyalty from their viewers, they would try to give stuff more of a chance to succeed, give it a longer period of time, give it more care and attention, because that's what Disney needs. They need to build back loyalty from their viewers, because right now it's tanked for people like us who liked The Acolyte.
I mean, it's tanked for a lot of people, and some of it's very disingenuous. People who've been crying that Star Wars is dead every other day. But I do think that there are some people who are just not interested in like the Mandoverse, and so then they offered something like The Acolyte, and not everyone liked it, but the people who did really, really loved it. And now it's like, we tried. We gave it an 8-episode shot.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think about something like The Rings of Power. That's not a bad comparison, I don't think, because we watched that. I thought it was fine. I'll watch season 2. I'm not like crazy excited about it. But there were definitely people who were fighting against it and saying that it was terrible and woke and blah, blah, blah. Very similar situation. Here comes season 2. Mm-hmm. And they've committed to, I think, 5 seasons. It's an insanely expensive show. And I guess I wish that Disney were willing to take risks like that, mm-hmm. and be like, if we're going to tell a story, we're going to tell it. Here we go. We're going to take a risk. We're going to be bold. And not everyone's going to love it, but the people who do are going to be there. And you're going to build up loyalty to them.
There's a ton of other stuff that I want to talk about regarding, The Acolyte not being renewed, but I don't know that we really have time to go into all of it. But also, one of the other big factors is just like people of color seeing themselves in Star Wars is so, so important. And having these powerful female roles to see in Star Wars is very powerful and very much needed. And, we can't say for sure that this show got, not renewed. I don't want to say canceled, that the show was not renewed because everyone was calling it woke, but it sure doesn't look good to see that it's not getting renewed. And then all the press that it got from, angry fans calling it woke and being like, oh, there's lesbian space witches in this. I can't let my kids watch this. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I don't really think that the online noise affected things either way. I do think that it just comes down to numbers and business decisions. But yeah, it's not a great look to have the first queer female showrunner and a cast full of people of color, and after hearing and being berated by all those kinds of people for 8 weeks straight, and then the show's canceled, it does feel that way, that you're like, oh, you're just gonna cave like that.
Yeah, we championed this show because we loved it, and me especially, I loved it. I loved what it stood for. I loved that it was different. It spoke to me and like so many others, and I championed it for weeks, putting up with endless like hateful bullying comments and stuff. And I have a fairly thick skin. I made it out. It's happened before, it'll happen again. But yeah, just felt really deflated just knowing that, well, not to say that all that was for nothing, but I don't know, it just really takes the wind out of your sails.
Yeah, this whole situation just highlights so many problems in show business and streaming and just like online fandom, which was already pretty bad. But it's, from my point of view, for The Acolyte, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I would never like draw battle lines in the sand and be like, this is where I stand. And you, my beloved wife, likes it? Like, not in this household. Like, I just don't understand looking at someone being like, oh, they enjoy it, good for them. And that's always been our philosophy with this channel, is that no matter our feelings on a thing, as long as it's not an opinion, it's not a review. But if I'm just doing a video about this thing, I'm going to treat it respectfully. I'm going to make it for the people who love that thing. I mean, right now I'm working on the FAQ video for The Rise of Skywalker, one of my least favorite Star Wars movies, but I'm treating it just the way I treated all the other ones, and that's how we're always going to be. And I just can't stand those people that have to go and attack everyone else for enjoying a thing, for disagreeing with them. It's so stupid.
Well, I think for those people, it's validating, but it's validating this weird like power trip. Yeah. Right?
Oh, they want to believe that they have the power. Like, I mean, that's, they want to look at the Snyder Cut happening, and they're basically like, if we're shitty enough, then the companies will listen to us.
Yeah, it feels like that sometimes.
Like I said, I think that this was driven purely by money and views and whatever, and their new mandate to go more towards movies than television and streaming, and to pull back there. But yeah, the feeling is still there.
I do want to say, if you didn't like the show, that's totally valid. If you loved the show, that's valid. If you got bullied like we did, I see you. It sucks. I know a lot of people are feeling like me, just kind of like down, depressed, sad, feeling like what's the point of getting excited for any other new Star Wars, and all of those feelings are totally valid. The past couple of days I've been trying to just tell myself, like, I can't let these like greedy corporate bozos dictate what I know I like, and I can't let them dictate how excited I get for something like Star Wars, which we love. So it sucks, but I just want to give people hope that like we're still gonna be here talking about all the shows through whatever BS the higher ups at Disney put us through.
Yeah, and I kind of want to try to put it like in a different perspective. For you, I feel like that this is the Acolyte being canceled is basically like if Star Wars Jedi Survivor got canceled after I loved Fallen Order so much. Like that is probably my favorite Star Wars thing that's come out since the Disney acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
And like if that got taken away from me, I would have been devastated.
Yeah.
And,
a white man in another video game? Get rid of it.
but you're right. Like there was far less of a chance of that happening. Let's move into some hopeful talk, because at the start of the video, I think I mentioned that I was like in bargaining stage of grief. And are there things that we can do to keep the story going? I do think that there's hope for the story to continue, maybe not on screen. But obviously there are books, there are comics, there are other things.
Yeah, I mean, Leslie left so many breadcrumbs for us to follow in different directions. So I think there's a lot of different places we can go with the story. But as far as like what we can do, just keep talking about the show. You know, there is a petition going around. I think I saw Collider tweet about it. We'll put the link down in the description. I don't know if that really does anything, but it can't hurt to sign it.
Right.
You know? And, you know, hashtag renew the Acolyte. Again, don't know how much help that's doing or who's seeing those, but it can't hurt to do it. And, you know, if you're going to conventions, just make your love of what it is that you love heard. Don't just give up on it because Disney's not renewing it, you know?
Yeah. I will throw out that since I brought up the Snyder Bros and the Snyder Cut, like, as long as it doesn't go into full-on harassment.
Right.
But yeah, there's also a Disney Plus support page I've seen people talking about where like you can request a show.
Oh yeah.
So,
Let's
I've seen
all
people
just overrun that request form with Acolyte Season 2.
But I like what you said about just showing your love. I mean, we were talking about Dragon Con here, and I'm always excited to see High Republic cosplays. Because that's just a little subset of the Star Wars fandom I love. But also this year I was like, we're probably going to see some cool Acolyte cosplays, and I'm really hoping to see a Stranger, and I hope that person or those people aren't too deflated to wear their cosplays now, because I'm excited to see them. So yeah, showing your love in that kind of way.
I can't wait for Celebration Japan, because I'm assuming they'll still do an Acolyte panel there or something, because we know Manny Jacinto is going to be there. I don't know who else from the Acolyte will be there, but Manny will be on a stage somewhere. At least Manny will be. And we can just all go and cheer and clap and show our support and bring picket signs that say, please renew the Acolyte. Thanks, bye.
And Manny's also coming to Dragon Con, which was announced like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like
that news still hasn't really sunk in, because I've seen people tagging him and being like, there's an Acolyte panel that we're on with some other people, and I'm like, if Manny shows up to that, I will faint.
Me too. Hold me with those arms. But I mentioned books and comics, and we had some questions about those. Like, I do think that one of the best things about the Star Wars universe is that no matter what, your story can continue. We saw it with Solo, and, you know, we didn't get a Solo 2 directly as a movie, but, you know, Kira has popped up in some surprising places, and her story continues on. I think that the characters of the Acolyte, I really hope that it's not just abandoned. We do have 2 books on the way about Jecki and Yord, and one about Vernestra and Indara. I won't say that there's no chance that those get canceled just because we saw that Mandalorian book get canceled years ago. But Justina Ireland put out an Instagram story or reel the other day talking about writing her book. So as far as we know, she is still writing away.
Yeah, I really hope those books still happen. As far as we know, they are. I think they've already been started as far as writing goes. But I was really curious about the Vernestra book.
Yeah, that will really piss me off if they take those books away. Then that is like they're really truly trying to ignore the Acolyte, and that's just something I will never get behind because, you know, even stuff like the holiday special, it comes around and people find joy in it years later, and to take something away fully, that would not sit well with me at all.
I mean, the Yord Horde stuff that we got sent, if they have a book with Yord in it after all this and they get rid of it, what's the point?
Don't throw my tissues.
What's the point?
Yeah, that would be a real slap in the face to be like, okay, we canceled your show, which was a business decision, but it was very expensive and not enough people watched it. But hey, at least you have these 2 books to look forward to. Nah, we just canceled them. That would seem like a completely pointless thing to do.
I don't know if I want the future of the Acolyte story to be told in other media, or if I just want to hold out hope that it'll get renewed at some point and they'll be able to do a second season. I don't want to hold out hope for that, I guess, just because I think I'll be holding out hope for a long time. But I don't know, like, I loved the story so much, I don't really want to see it continued in a comic or a book, but if that's all we get, I guess I'll take it. Because they can do more. They can get away with more in books and comics. That is the saving grace for that.
That is true. You know, I totally understand if people would feel like that was taking a step back, as if it were, like, I don't want to say a downgrade, but just, you know, more people watch the shows than read the books.
It's like,
that is just the nature of the thing.
It would be like saying, ooh, everyone hated this, but no one cares about the books, so write a book about it. Who cares?
Like, that there is an element of truth to that. Like, I bristle at it because the Star Wars books have always meant so much to me back when I only had 3 movies and a bunch of books to read.
Right.
So, like, I'm always all for, yeah, just, like, I guess I'm maybe more pro that of, like, oh, we'll just keep the story going in the books. Great. Mm-hmm. And I understand why people wouldn't be as jazzed about that as I am.
I would be grateful for it, of course, and excited, and I would read it. But yeah, again, all of these emotions are totally valid. If it makes you angry that they would continue the story in a book instead of giving it a second season, that is valid. But I don't know if we should just be happy with what we get or hold out hope for more television.
I will say, though, we can look at The Clone Wars, which is a show that did well and truly get canceled in the middle of production for season 6. And there were plans already for season 7 and 8, but it got canceled. And fortunately, what was made of season 6 got put on Netflix. But then, 8 years later, it wasn't the end.
I put out this really conspiracy theory sounding tweet a couple days ago that was like, okay, the news that the Acolyte wasn't getting renewed came out the same day that there was a super full moon. And that specific kind of full moon wasn't going to happen again for 13 years. So 13 years from now,
we'll have a giant time jump.
# renew the Acolyte.
Big time jump. Osha and Chimera have been training together for 13 years, and Plagueis decides it's over. And
yeah. Well, this has been very cathartic to talk about. And
cross my fingers for that supermoon
in
13 years.
Hopefully this hasn't been too ranty for you guys to watch, and hopefully it's been cathartic for other viewers as well.
But I'm ready for Dragon Con.
Yeah.
That's like I've been just trying to put all of my mental energy into making stupid cosplays and getting ready to party for a weekend with my friends.
Yeah, I have more things to sew, more things to glue. I'm using sticky Velcro for some things. There's a lot of crafting going on in our house, and
we always do last minute cosplaying, but this year has been another level. It's been impressive.
I gotta spray paint stuff. Yeah, it's a lot.
So maybe next year I'll finally make my own Jedi robes.
By next year, maybe we'll both be better at sewing because we have a sewing machine now.
You're already pretty good at it. I need to get even a little decent at it. But we're going to wrap it up for today. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.